PowerShell scripting, supporting WhatIf and confirm. Now, these are two standardized parameters that are supposed to be used with any command that modifies the system state. Now, it's likely that you're going to write commands that modify the system state at some point, and you should stay consistent with the way PowerShell works by adding support for those parameters. It's actually way easier than you might think. I'm going to show you how. And there's really two phases to this. The first is telling PowerShell that you support should process, and that's sort of the brand name for supporting the WhatIf and confirm parameters. Once you tell PowerShell you support those, it will add them to your tool automatically. You don't need to code those parameters. What you do need to do is implement that support. So you tell PowerShell that you support it, and then you actually have to, follow through with your promise. Along the way, I'm going to help you understand what confirm impact is all about, because that plays into this whole kind of situation. Now, I love this topic because it gives me a chance to show off. So we are going to go to, let's look up PowerShell version 2 and later. And by the way, I should point out, everything we're doing in this nugget applies to PowerShell version 2 and later. I'm just working in Windows 8 because I like the PowerShell version 3 tools a little bit better. So PowerShell version 2 introduced a new command called stop computer, which will shut down a computer, and restart computer, which will restart a computer. But this WMI Win32 operating system class still has a little bit of an advantage. There's a method on here called Win32 shutdown that I'm going to try and get to. And while that's loading, I think it's coming up. While that's loading, let's get the ISE open. And I'm going to open that OS Tools module that we have been having so much fun with, because we're going to add a whole brand new function to it. Okay, are we there yet? Yes, we are. So there's some methods down here, and Win32 shutdown. This one's neat because despite its name, it actually does more than shut down. It can log off, shut down, reboot, or power off. Now, all of those operations can be canceled by an application. So you can also add so log off is 0, shut down is 1. So you give this thing a parameter to tell it what to do. Reboot is 2, and then power off is 8. And if you add 4, then it forces it, meaning it does not allow an application to cancel. And the log off one in particular is really useful. So we're going to build a function that does this. The problem with WMI methods is that if you're executing the method directly, because it's a method and not a command, you don't get -WhatIf and -confirm. But -WhatIf and -confirm are important. Look at the help for something like stop process. I'll use the alias kill. -WhatIf and -confirm. These parameters are there on most commands that attempt to modify the system state. So we should do a lot. We should play along. We should be consistent with the rest of the shell, right? So here we go. Function. Set computer state. I'm always going to make these commandlet binding advanced functions whenever I possibly can. And we're going to have a parameter. Parameter is mandatory. Accepts its value as strings, value from pipeline. And it will be one or more strings, and that's the computer name. And then we're going to have another string called action. And I'm going to put some parameter validation on this. First of all, it is mandatory. You know what? This is where I start. I get upset with myself if the formatting isn't pretty. So you're going to have to bear with me there. I have to make the formatting pretty. There's the end of my parameter block. So this parameter is mandatory. And let's put some validation on here. Validate set. This is allowed to be log off, power off. Oops, let's be consistent with the quotes there, Don. Power off, shut down, or restart. All right, that forces it to be one of those things. So here we go. We don't know how many computers we're getting, so I need to enumerate them. And if I'm in a pipeline, I need to have a process block. So for each computer in computer name, however many there are, let's first of all figure out our action. Oh, and you know what? We can force too. I forgot that. Let's have a switch called force. Right? So you either specify that or you don't. You don't give it a value. If you run this with minus force, dollar force will be true. If you run this without minus force, then dollar force will be false. So it's just a switch on or off. Okay, so let's say that we're going to switch on action. And if action is log off, then our, we need a variable name. X is, now I have to go back to the documentation. Log off is 0, shutdown is 1, so X equals 0. If it's shut down, X equals 1. And what were the other two? Oops, dang it, I hate that thing. Reboot is 2, power off is 8. I don't like reboot. Call it restart. X equals 2. And power off, X equals 8. So we're using this validate set so that the person can only provide one of those 4 strings, and PowerShell will actually tab complete them too. So action is going to be one of those 4 strings. Here, I'm translating those to the numbers that the operating system actually needs. And if they specified force, add 4 to it. Simple enough. OS, get wMyObject, class Win32 operating system from the computer, name in computer, and we will enable all privileges. Now you have to do that for some methods simply because they kind of have a little extra safety over them. So we're enabling the privilege, and now we're just going to say OS Win32 shutdown, whatever is in X. Boom, there we go. That will do whatever. That'll also produce a result. I'm going to pipe it to out null so that I don't see it. Now we can put error handling and all kinds of other cool stuff in here, but trying to keep it simple for right now. Now, I would say that changing the power state of the computer is modifying the system condition. So I want to make sure that I support the WhatIf and confirm parameters. So to do that, supports should process equals $true. So I'm putting this in my commandlet binding attribute. Doing this turns on WhatIf and confirm. They will now show up in the help for this function. Now let's talk about confirm impact. Here in the shell, you have a built-in preference variable called confirm preference. It's always set to high. Its other options are medium and low. If you run a command and its confirm impact is equal to or higher than confirm preference, then the command will automatically run with the minus confirm parameter. So it'll automatically ask you, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? If I set this to medium, it would not automatically ask me, are you sure? I would have to run it with minus confirm. But we're going to set it to high because there's some valuable little trick here that I want to also share with you. Now, here's a mistake a lot of folks make. This will declare support for minus WhatIf and confirm, but it won't actually do anything different. Here's how I implement that support. If ps commandlet should process, you wrap whatever command is possibly dangerous, whatever command is changing the system state, you wrap it in an if construct, and you call $ps commandlet should process. And this takes a string. This string is actually going to be displayed to the user. So I'm going to say action computer. And you'll see what that looks like in the output in just a second. So that's really all I need to do at this point. Let's try it. What the heck, right? Set computer state, action. Oh, computer name first. Computer name, blah, 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 blah. Let's do dc.lab.pri. It's my domain controller. There's no danger there, right? And I did not pick up my minus action for some reason. So it means I might have a problem here in my syntax. I don't see anything. Yeah, let's close this and open anew, just in case. Import module OS tools, set computer state, computer name, dc.lab.pri. There, it's tab completing now. So now I can actually tab complete these values. We'll just say log off, force, what if. And look, it recognizes what if. And here's what it's going to do. I'm performing operation set computer state on target, log off, so it's telling me the action. And this string is what I produced here. That's where that came from. Now let's try running this without minus what if. Now remember, I said the confirm impact was high. Because my confirmation preference defaults to high, this should automatically prompt me, are you sure? And it does. No, I'm not sure. Okay, let's run this again. When you have a command that is automatically prompting you and you don't want it to, you can do that. And the reason I got a failure is because I'm not actually logged on to my domain controller. So let's try this again with a different action. We'll do restart. No error message. It's probably over there restarting my domain controller even as we speak. So really useful trick. Not too hard to implement. Write your function as normal. Take your input, do whatever. Declare your support for should process. That turns on the minus what if and minus confirm parameters. In fact, you can see this in the help. Help set computer state. There it is, what if and confirm. Even though I didn't actually code those, this is what adds them. Specify your confirm impact. That'll decide whether or not people get confirmed automatically. Now the idea here is your estimation of how awful things could go badly if someone runs this without paying attention. Now for me, potentially powering off or shutting down a computer is pretty bad, so I set this to high. Then to implement that support, you use ps_commandlet.shouldProcess. Give it a string that helps the user see what's going to happen. You can see here, even when it was prompting me, do you want to do this? I still get that message that I created, log off dc.lab.pri. Then, if they say yes, here's the code that actually executes. So it's pretty simple to remain consistent with the rest of the way that PowerShell works with these types of commands that change the system state. And consistency helps other people use your tools more easily, more effectively. So you start by declaring support for should process, and that happens in your commandlet binding attribute. You then use an if construct and the $PS_commandlet object to implement support for should process. And you do need to understand how confirm impact plays in there. You can set things up so that it will always confirm. And for a really super dangerous, possibly awful thing, you want to do that. Be a little careful. You don't want to have everything confirm all the time because that does get annoying. But I also showed you how someone or you could override that automatic prompt. So you've got a lot of options and a lot of ways you can play with it. And this is a great thing to do for any tool that modifies the system state. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.